Okay, so far we've looked at tags and elements that are static, so they don't actually allow us to move anywhere or move on to different pages. So in order for us to do that, we need to use something called anchors. So anchors, or an anchor tag, is a thing like an A, so we'll start creating some. So say for example I wanted to create a link that I can move to a different page. So I would go ahref like that. Href is your attribute, so it allows you to put in values of where you want to go. Equals, and I'm just going to put new page dot HTML like that. Okay, I don't actually have that page right now, so we're going to make a new one. So exactly the same way, so I'm just going to start typing HTML and do my little tabby thing, which won't actually work because we haven't done this thing down here. So we go down to HTML, click on that, and then if I start typing HTML and do my tab, that we go. I'm going to save it in a similar place to this one, and I'm just going to call it new page, just like that. So let's put a title on here, let's call it new page, and then let's put a bit of a text in there using H1 that says welcome to my new page, and just close it. Save that. So now we should have this. So let's try it. So if we save it, probably should have figured it out. There we go, where I was saving it to. Let's just put them side by side. And if I refresh that, everything has gone a link, because again, a ahref needs a closing tag. Now nothing has shown up because we've not told it what we want to actually link it to. So we've said we want link, but we need to anchor that link down to a word or something. So I'm just going to put new page and save, and we've got as link. So that will take us to our new page. Perfect. But now I need to do the same thing. Now the problem we've got here is we've got a H1, so I want to keep that H1 on. So what I have to do for this one is do the same thing. Index, did I put capital? No. Index.html, just like that. And then I'll close it here, and I will close my A. So if I put, let's do a H2 back, like that. Let's have if I actually closed it. Like that. And if I close my A tag there, that back should still have H2 reference on it, and it should still be my link. So if I save it and refresh, there we go. Click back, next page. So that's the normal one without any styling on it, and then if this has got H2 on it. So that's a hyperlink. So you will make your navigation bars out of this one. Okay. So this is where you actually create the ability for two pages to interact with each other. And when Tim Berners-Lee created his first static website back in between 1989 and 1991, he actually wanted this to happen, but then they weren't the capability of doing it. So the next thing I'm going to show you is commenting. So if you're working on a large project, which you're going to be working on, and you're completing it over several days or several weeks, it's going to get to a point where you can't actually remember what you've written. Or if you're working with multiple people in your team, you're going to need to be able to leave notes. So the way we do that is we comment. Now there's two ways to do it. There's a lazy way and the hard way. I'm going to show you both. So the first way is you do colon, not a colon, open bracket thingy, exclamation mark, and then 2 lines. And then type whatever you need to type, and then to close it so the rest of the page actually still works, it's 2 lines and that. Okay, what if we want to be lazy? So if I do it this way, I can highlight and I press Control and / and it comments it for me. That's so much easier. Okay, so we've done that bit. So the next thing I need to show you is some tags which will be pretty useless until you actually start using CSS, but we're going to show you them anyway. It's called a div tag. Okay, so say if I had, let's put my lips and aurum in here. So this is going to be up here, and then down here I want my, let's do it in a paragraph. Spell it wrong, Anna. Why? Hang on. probably typing it wrong. Lorem, that's what it is. Like that. Ipsum, that's it. Right, so I've got my paragraph. If I wanted to split this into 2 sections, so this would be like my navigation bar as such, and then this would be my actual body of my text, I can use something called a div. So I do a div like that, and then I'll close it here. Now a div, all a div does is basically it splits it up into a section. So if I want to add styling to 2 different parts, if I want to add different background colour here than I've got down here, I'll use a div. It's basically just adding a container around it, but there's nothing really to add to it now because you don't know any CSS, but it was worth just showing you. And the next one is a span. So again, like that, and then I'll just close it down here. So basically a span is similar, but it's an inline element. So that means instead of doing it just like this, I can actually just do it over certain lines of text. So I could do it between there and there. I don't have to do it right down here. So nothing will happen. So if we save it like that, nothing will happen. It won't do anything because with no CSS to put it. These are just tools that you can use when you want an invisible container around your page so that we can add specific styles to them. Still worth knowing. So one of the things I mentioned earlier is about, I mentioned it earlier and I kind of brushed it off, but I wanted to make sure I revisited it, and it's the HTML versus HTML5. So when HTML first began, it was elaborate. It wasn't as elaborate as it is now. It didn't have as many features as it does now. The web we had in the 90s was a lot different to what we have now, and we also have now the introduction of phones and tablets and things like that, whereas in the 90s websites run on PCs. So now we need more power. So each time HTML evolves, we get new versions. So the power of HTML increases, and new versions and elements are added onto the end of HTML so that we can actually improve the user experience. So we also need to make sure that the features, because there is still a lot of websites out there that were made in the 90s and things like that, and they're still online. So we have to make sure that the new features don't damage the existing websites. So all older versions must still work, even though we're adding these extra features. So HTML5 introduced something called semantic elements, and these are made by making websites more descriptive. So they try to add more meaning for when Google searches are made. So Google ranks your searches in order, and this tries to add more meaning to them. So new semantic tags are things like article, aside, details, fig caption, figure, footer, header, main, mark, nav, section, summary, and time. And there is a lot of this information about all of these on W3 Schools. I'm just going to give you a quick overview. So this, if you imagine this is a wireframe for your website, so header here, you would split your header and this maybe hold your title. You could actually combine header and nav together if you wanted, because these two could, so header could start here and end down here once you've done your navigation. Section, so you're splitting it up into a section, just like a div. Article, again, you're splitting it up into a section where it's more emphasised. Moving things to the side, you've got your footer. So this is kind of what a wireframe would look like on a website, and it's using the new semantics. There's a lot of information on W3 Schools that tells you just about it, about what differences are with HTML5 and how it was made, what's been taken out, things like that. So it might be worth actually having a look at that. But that is the end of HTML for now. I'm going to move on to CSS next, because there is another thing that I'm debating showing you. It's forms, but I don't think you need forms. When I've been looking through your assignment, I think you're good without using it, and there's no point doing it anyway because you're going to need PHP to actually make it work, and that's not in your spec, so we don't actually need to do it. So that is the end of HTML. So the next one we're going to be looking at CSS and actually adding some style. So if you need to go back and look at anything or you don't understand anything, you can find me in Teams.